The small rural town of Black Hollow, Pennsylvania, was the kind of place most people forgot existed. It was quiet, isolated, and surrounded by heavy forests where daylight felt dim even at noon. The locals lived simple lives, but they all followed one silent rule. Never go outside after midnight. No one questioned it. No one broke it. It was simply accepted, as if the entire town had learned that rule the hard way. On the evening of October 18th, Megan Carter, a 27-year-old documentary videographer from Chicago, drove into Black Hollow looking for answers. Her friend, Daniel Rhodes, a well-known travel vlogger, had disappeared after sending her one final message. His voice was shaking, terrified. He said only one warning. "Megan, do not come here. Something walks at night. Something that knows your name." After that message, he vanished completely. When Megan stepped out of her car, the air felt strangely heavy, as if the town itself was breathing slowly. The streets were empty, the stores closing early, and people avoided even looking in her direction. It didn't feel like a normal town. It felt like a place where everyone knew something but refused to speak. She entered the old Hilltop Motel where Daniel had stayed. The building was quiet, dusty, and cold. The elderly manager, without saying a single word, handed Megan the key to Daniel's room. Her hands trembled as though she had not slept for days. Megan noticed her eyes tired, fearful, and avoiding direct contact. Inside Daniel's room, she found his bag, wallet, and clothes. Nothing was packed. It was as if he had stepped out for a minute and never returned. She checked his camera. One unsaved video remained. When she pressed play, Daniel's face appeared. He looked exhausted, frightened, and out of breath. He said, "If you're watching this, it already knows you're here." They call it the night visitor. It comes after midnight. It knocks 3 times. Do not open the door. And if you ever see its face, it becomes yours. Before he could explain more, the video cut off suddenly. That night, as she sat alone in the same room, the lights flickered softly. The air grew colder, settling like a weight on her chest. The old radio in the corner switched on by itself, releasing a low, distorted whisper. A voice called her name, Megan. The sound was stretched, distant, almost like someone was speaking from deep underground. She turned the radio off. It switched back on instantly. Another whisper followed. "Open the door, Megan." At that moment, 3 slow knocks echoed through the room. Heavy, hollow, deliberate. She froze. She remembered Daniel's warning. She stood still, not moving, not breathing. After a long pause, the knocking faded. The radio went silent again. Megan stayed awake until sunrise. The next morning, she walked through town, trying to ask about Daniel. Every person repeated the same advice. Leave before night. Do not stay another day. Some shook their heads. Some simply walked away. Finally, one elderly man agreed to speak. His name was John Molly, a retired sheriff who had lost his sight years ago. He told Megan he had survived something years earlier that no one believed. He said the presence that moved around Black Hollow at night did not walk like a person. Its movements were strange, almost gliding. It could sound like people you knew, using voices you trusted. According to him, if someone heard their own voice calling from outside, it meant the presence was already close, maybe even inside the room. He held Megan's hand firmly and said, "If it knocks tonight, do not speak to it, do not answer, and whatever you do, do not look at it." Later that day, Megan followed the forest trail where Daniel's footprints were last seen. The deeper she walked, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, no insect sounds. It was the kind of silence that felt unnatural. She discovered an abandoned ranger cabin. Inside, strange marks scarred the wooden walls. Something had tried to push through them or escape. On the floor, she saw Daniel's backpack. Her pulse raced. As she lifted it, she noticed a fresh, damp footprint on the wooden floor. Long, thin, not shaped like anything human. It pointed directly toward where she stood. She didn't stay long. She ran back to Wardtown before the sun disappeared behind the trees. That night, exactly at midnight, the temperature in the room plunged. The lights dimmed. The same whispering voice returned. 3 soft knocks followed. "Megan? Help me?" the voice said. It sounded exactly like Daniel. The same tone ante, same fear, the same echo of desperation. Her eyes filled with tears, but then she remembered the sheriff's warning. If you hear the voice of someone you love after midnight, it is not them. A faint shadow slid slowly under the door, stretching across the floor, rising upward like smoke taking shape. A tall figure formed, featureless, with a distorted outline. Multiple voices murmured from its direction, layered on top of each other. Megan grabbed Daniel's camera and triggered the flash. The bright light spread across the room. The shadow recoiled instantly and slipped back under the door, disappearing. The next morning, she decided to flee the town, but every road she took circled back to the same gas station, the same empty diner, the same water tower. It was impossible to leave. Black Hollow held her like a maze that rearranged itself while she drove. Determined, Megan returned to the forest. She found strange symbols carved into the trees, forming a spiraled path deeper into the woods. Following them, she discovered a hidden storm shelter underground. Inside were shelves filled with old tapes, labeled with names, dates, and locations. Dozens of them, maybe more. One tape had Daniel's name. She played it on an old screen inside the shelter. Daniel appeared terrified, whispering that whatever the night visitor was, it didn't harm people in a normal way. It replaced them. It used faces like masks. The screen flickered. Daniel's face shifted slightly, stretching in unnatural ways, but without any graphic detail. A voice on the tape whispered, "Megan, turn around." She felt the air behind her change, a soft sound like slow breathing. She didn't turn. She ran out of the shelter, through the forest, branches brushing against her, the path twisting beneath her feet. She wasn't alone. Something moved behind her, keeping pace without making footsteps. She burst out onto the main road of Black Hollow, just as the sun slipped below the horizon. She ran into Sheriff Malley's home, but found him sitting quietly in his chair, unmoving, as if time had stopped for him. Moments later, she realized something was wrong. The room felt colder. The air felt heavier. Slowly, his head lifted, though his body barely moved. His blank eyes focused on her, and a soft, unfamiliar voice spoke from his direction. "You should not have come back." She ran before anything else could happen. The streetlights around town began to flicker. One by one, they dimmed as she ran toward the motel. She found her room door open. Daniel sat inside, alive, smiling gently. "Megan, it's all right. I'm okay now." His voice sounded warm, but the air around him felt wrong. He stood up slowly, and Megan realized something in his movement was not natural. She stepped back and left immediately, running toward her car. A shadow followed, stretching across the ground, as if connected to her. She drove toward the forest again, thinking that if the town kept pulling her in circles, something inside the woods must be responsible. She found the ruins of an old church hidden far inside the forest. The doors were marked with faded symbols. Inside, the remnants of a large tree stood in the center-dark hollow, ancient. Its trunk had a deep opening. Around it lay scattered objects, old belongings, and faded reminders of people who once lived. The air inside the ruins felt colder than any night she had experienced in Black Hollow. Inside the hollow of the tree, she saw shapes' faces carved into the wood, not realistic, but faint impressions, as if memories were trapped there. One of the faces resembled Daniel. A soft whisper drifted out, urging her to leave, urging her to free them. With trembling hands, Megan broke an old lantern she found inside, allowing its flame to spread onto the dry surface. Fire caught quickly, spreading around the roots. The ground trembled, as if the entire forest was reacting. Megan ran as the flames grew. Bright light filled the forest, the first true light she had seen since arriving in Black Hollow. She kept running until she reached her car and drove as far as she could. This time, the roads finally led her forward instead of back. When the morning sun rose, Black Hollow no longer appeared behind her. It was gone, replaced by empty highway and endless trees. Hours later, Megan reached a police station in another county. She tried to explain everything. Officers checked the coordinates she gave them, but according to all records, maps, and local archives, no town called Black Hollow existed. It had never existed. The only physical proof she had was a single tape sitting in her car's passenger seat, a tape labeled in shaky handwriting, "New, face selected." When she played it, the screen showed a single image, her own face, still.com, silent. As the recording continued, her reflection began to shift, slowly changing its expression, as if something behind the image was studying her. The recording ended abruptly. Later that night, in a distant motel somewhere across the country, a hallway light flickered softly. A door stood closed. The air cooled, and far down the hall, someone knocked 3 times. Slow, steady, calm. A whisper followed. "Open the door. I know your name."